So Pastor Steve asked me to speak a little bit on what I'm seeing for the frontline healthcare workers across Southern California. And I'll say I visited several clinics and hospitals, and I'll talk just about a couple of aspects, one from the patient's perspective and then for all those healthcare workers. From the patient's perspective, there's obviously the fear when you have the disease, and it can cause pretty critical illness in some. And so there's the fear of that, but also the loneliness. Pretty much every hospital has a no visitor policy, and so the only physical interaction that the patients are having are with those frontline caregivers. And they're physically apart from their families. While they may be able to call in and FaceTime, it can be a lonely time. And I'm also seeing that families are being affected. So one hospital I've seen, a patient who also had her mother and grandmother sick enough to come into the hospital, and so you see whole families affected, and with that there's guilt with, did I expose my loved ones? And so for the healthcare workers, I want to highlight the physicians and the nurses, but also not forget all those other ancillary services that are supporting these patients, whether it be the respiratory therapists, technologists, environmental service workers, even food service workers. And so they're putting their own selves at risk in caring for these patients. And so I think most have been praying for their protection from the illness and this virus, but also consider their psychological and emotional wellness as well. There's, pretty much universally, when people are coming home from the hospitals or these clinics, they're decontaminating in the garage. Some are sleeping in separate rooms from their family. Others are even sleeping in hotels for fear of what they potentially could be bringing home. And so what I've been praying about on a regular basis, and what I would ask all of you to consider praying for, is, again, the healing of the patients, the protection of the workers, but also the psychological and emotional well-being. And what I do think is coming out of this, what gives me great hope, is that people are open to the things of faith much more than they were before this, and there's opportunity for us to show God's goodness and that He may be glorified. And I have never been more thankful that I know where my feet stand, on solid ground, and I know where I look to for my hope. And so I pray that for those believers that are out there in the healthcare field, that they can really show God's love during this time, and that He may be glorified. So thank you for your support, Living Hope, and keep the prayers coming.